morning. Hallelujah. Hey, so I was at Grace XP camp this week. Man, fat white boys that are old should not play 3-on-3 basketball tournaments. Because I'm still hurting from that thing. We actually beat Jeremiah's team by forfeiture because he fell down and walked away. No, I didn't really do that. Don't leave here and tell people I did that. That was my joke with Jeremiah, right? But he actually, I don't know what he did, but we put the hammer to him. But then we got our rears whooped after that. And since Walter's not here, and that little Ramirez girl's not here, it's really all their fault, right? I have my skills, okay? And they just dropped the ball. But one of the kids there, what was his name? Morgan. You guys remember Morgan, if you were there?
Yeah. He was a camp hugger.
The camp hugger, yeah. If you were at dinner and you're walking to the dinner line, he's going to hug you. He helped Rachel out, even if she didn't need help, he helps you. He put my cantaloupe on my lasagna. I'm not being a kid. But anyway, this morning he messaged me and he asked if I could get a picture of my church. So I know some of you are going, don't put my face on Facebook. I don't want them to know I was at that church this morning. So I promise you I won't put your face on Facebook so that you're not exposed that you were at this place. But I will send it to him a private message. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay, I got to jump up here very slowly because I'm hurting. Okay. So we're going to say Jesus on 3. You ready? Jesus. 1, 2, 3. Jesus. Gosh, you guys are... Jesus. Definitely don't sound like a bunch of sanctified and holy righteous people to me. So you're going to the Gypsy? Rustic Gypsy. You think that's appropriate for a bunch of church girls to go into the Rustic Gypsy? Have you? No, he was Gypsy. Now he's the son of God, right? Okay, I just trusted you prayed about it, Tammy, and you feel confident about it. Okay. What we did, we had an awesome week. There's something special about Grace XP Camp. I don't know what it is. It's you know, like I get all these kids come up hugging me after camp, and they're like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And really, I didn't do anything. I just showed up and made a bunch of bad jokes and punched them all, hit them all, stole the food off their trays or going through the lunch line. But man, what happens is like Misty. Where you at, Misty? I can't recognize you with the blonde hair. Misty is talking about was when she came here, she just felt free to share what's going on in her life. And I think it was Tuesday night, man, all these kids begin to open up and begin to share some pretty deep brokenness, hurts, things that they had gone through in life. And I look at that and I think, I've shared this in here before, but I look at that and I think that can only happen in an atmosphere of grace, right? Like, because most of the time in church, we're supposed to be at some certain level, right? And if we're not at that level, we're doing something wrong. And so for people to really just be real with one another and not worry about everybody leaving and go gossip about all their junk, it has to be an atmosphere of grace where everybody says, you know what, I'm going to screw up, you're a screw up, but then we can come together, serve the Lord together, and we can share our deepest, darkest secrets, our biggest failures, our biggest mistakes, and love each other and not judge each other, but help each other to get to empower to walk in this life. You know, and I don't know how that happens in such a short time in camp, but it happened last year and it happened this year, and it's just, to me, it blows me away. I hear some of the stories of these kids, and I think, I mean, when a sixth grader is telling you that they struggle with anxiety, I mean, when I was a sixth grader, it's like I had a little card on my bicycle tire, and I was driving, you know, like I'm not saying everything was roses, but I don't know if I knew what the word anxiety was back then, you know, and so I hear that and I think, how do you even know what anxiety is, girl? Like, come hang out with me for a day and I'll show you anxiety. But the reality of it is, I think that it's a different generation. I think as much as I love social media and the thing that it does for us, I think that it puts an expectation on us to be a certain amount of cool or this or that. And if we're not grounded and rooted in who we are in Christ, the reality of it is it's tough, right? Like it took me, I was insecure for most of my life. It took me a long time to really come to a place where, yeah, I've got flaws and I've got good things about me, I've got bad things about me, and I'm okay with it. Right? Like some people say, Bill, how worse this? And I say, well, yeah, that's true. And some people say, Bill, where's that? And I say, well, that's not so much true. But I'm okay with it because I'm just okay with who I am, right? Because I know who image I was made in, and I'm okay with that. But the reality of it is church culture for most of our life is like, if things are messy, we just don't talk about it, right? Most of the time, I remember as a kid, you came into church, it's like, how you doing? I'm blessed, I'm favored. You got the big smile. Maybe you're fighting with your spouse all the way to church. I'm going to turn this truck around. You kids better shut up. And then you walk through the door, and you're smiling. It's good. Life's good. God's blessed me all week. Because really what was kind of, when I was brought up, it was kind of like, I grew up in a lot of Pentecostal churches, so it's kind of like, if there are things going wrong in your life, it's because you're in sin, right? And you're screwing up. And so we always had to come to church and really act like we had it together, right? Even if things were about to fall apart. And so I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that we've started this camp, and after 2 years, we've seen kids and just be real. And really, before we leave, Jeremiah talked about the first night. When we get there, everybody's kind of in their own little cliques, and everybody's got this like fake facade on because we don't really know each other. But before the camp's over, we just go into like this one big community that know each other, that really care about each other. And it's like the day, like for the first 2 days, you're thinking, I'm going to kill some people. I'm going to get out of here. My bed sucks, and it hurts. I didn't sleep last night. And then by the 5th day, you're thinking, man, I wish we had one more day. I wish I could hang with these guys one more day. And so they all take off when they leave. But I started that today because I want to talk to you a little bit about that, right? About overwhelming circumstances, about not having to be real all the time. Here's the deal. Here's what I think. So we have the cross here, right? So there's two sides of the cross. We got this side of the cross, we got this side of the cross. This side of the cross, they represent somebody that's never received Jesus, okay? And so their biggest need in life is to know Jesus Christ, right? But then we have this side of the cross where we receive Jesus, and the lie is that if I'm on this side of the cross, life has begun to be easy, right? The truth of it is some people on this side of the cross have it a little better than maybe some people on this side of the cross. And I'm not speaking eternally. Let me just say this. My worst day with Jesus was better than my best day without Jesus. But I'm just saying some people have their life in order a little better on this side of the cross than some people on this side of the cross. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so I think that this lie has been, okay, once you come to Jesus, then everything's going to get better. But can I just share a few guys with you real quick and we'll get into my sermon? Because Moses was a guy that God said that I speak to you in riddles and parables and dreams and visions. But he said, but my servant Moses I speak to face, right? So Moses knew God. He knew the Father. In Numbers 11, 14 through 15, Moses is crying out and he says, I cannot carry all these people by myself. This dude was the greatest pastor in the world, right? Look, I've shared this before, but some of you are new. Israel cried about manna, okay? Like, imagine being a pastor and you had free food every day that tastes like honeycombs. And I told you before, it was Krispy Kreme donuts delivered to your door every day. And people say, I'm tired of Krispy Kreme donuts. They're making me skinny. They're making me healthy. Do something, Moses, right? Only church people can complain about that. Hallelujah. He says, the burden is too heavy for me. I've cried that out, Lord. Please kill these people. The burden is too heavy for me. If this is how you're going to treat me, please go ahead and kill me. That's what Moses' prayer was. So he got the wrong prayer. I was like, please go ahead and kill them. And Moses said, kill me. If I found favor in your eyes, do not let me face my own ruin. Elijah. You guys remember Elijah? We just talked about him a couple weeks ago. In 1 Kings 19, I would say Elijah was in the top 10 or top 5 prophets. I would say Jesus was the man, right? Jesus says that John was the greatest. Elisha got a double portion from Elijah, and so I'd say Elijah's right up there in the top 5. You might disagree with me, but that's where I read him at. So this is the guy that just called down fire, just killed 800 prophets of Baal. This is Elijah was afraid and ran for his life when he came to Beersheba. He left his servant there. I'm going to hit that for a second. You guys got my scriptures back there?
Yeah.
James, I asked you to put up. They said he went to Beersheba and he left his servant behind. See, a lot of times when we're when we're going through some hard times, the first thing we want to do is isolate ourselves, right? Depressed people normally isolate themselves from everybody else. That's why a lot of times if somebody starts withdrawing from church, I try to get them to come back to church. It's like, they're like, I'm going through a hard time. You don't know what I'm going through, Pastor. I'm like, I know, that's why you need to be in church, right? So if you find yourself getting depressed, don't go hide and lock yourself up. Actually, get your rear into church, right? We got a breakthrough here. Amen? That was the Holy Ghost. He says, while he himself went a days into the wilderness, he came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. He says, I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. This is Elijah. Jonah 4:3 says, now, Lord, take away my life, for it's better for me to die than to live. And the Apostle Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 8, we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about the troubles we experienced in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. The word despair means that he lost hope of life itself. And that kind of throws out all the theology that says that you won't go through things more than you can handle, right? You're going to go through some things that more than you can handle. In the very next verse, Paul says, where we had to come to a place that we stopped putting trust in ourselves, but we had to put trust in the God that raises the dead to life, right? So when we're going through more things than more than we can handle, it's above my ability. It's impossible for me to get through. That's when I can realize that I'm in a situation that I got to turn to God. And the reality of it is God wants us to bring everything to Him, right? Every little thing of our life. He doesn't want to wait until we get in the middle of junk and then reach out to Him. He would love for us just to walk our life out with Him in a relationship. So if you're going through some overwhelming circumstances, you're in pretty good company, pretty good guys, right? Apostle Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. Elijah's top 5 prophet ever. Moses led 3 million people out. And Jonah, we don't think a lot about Jonah, but he was a prophet of God. So Lord, just take my life. So I'm going to preach to you today from Daniel 1. And I was kind of inspired by camp this week. And the title of my message is going to be Overwhelming Circumstances. I'm going to kind of lay out some groundwork with you. I'm going to try my best to stay behind this pulpit today. Okay? So pray for me. I have a hard time to get preaching. I want to run. Then I forget half my notes and I just preached again. So, this is what we'll kind of lay out. And you'll understand this as we get into the sermon. When God encounters people, He changes their name. Right? When God encountered Abram, He changed his name to Abraham. When God encountered Jacob, He changed his name to Israel. And when God encountered this murderer Saul, He changed his name to Apostle Paul. Right? When God encountered you, whatever day it was, when you're in your Damascus Road experience, or when you were in a church and you encountered God, everything that you were before is now gone and you were something new. Old things have passed away, all things have become new. As He is in the world, so are we. Right? As He is right now, so are you. You got a new name. Look at your neighbor and say, you got a new name. The devil from the beginning of time has always been a deceiver. And the first thing the devil always goes after is your identity. Right? The first thing he said to Adam and Eve, if you will partake of this, you will be like God. Right? But God already declared they were like God. Satan went to Jesus and said, if you are the Son of God, and don't be deceived if you think Satan will come to you and begin to question, are you really holy? Are you really righteous? Are you really a son of God? Are you really saved? Are you really healed? Are you really blessed? Are you really favored? The devil will tell the bride of Christ that she's just an adulterer. He'll tell the healed that you're sick. He'll tell the holy you're just a sinner saved by grace. He'll tell the qualified that you're not qualified. He'll tell you that you're an addict, a pervert, a liar. Then he'll turn around and use the circumstances that we're going to make us believe the things that he's saying about us is true. All right? We're getting some overwhelming circumstances and maybe we don't react the best way. I'll just backtrack a little bit. Sure, about camp. So they were supposed to give us 3 cabins when we got there. And the dude backpedals and says, we can't give you 3 cabins because you don't have enough kids. And we're like, That's not what you told us. And so I was thinking I shouldn't be the one having the conversation with this dude. Pastor Cecil should be the one, because I sometimes get a little hot, And so I'm trying to be like, hey man, we planned our whole camp around these 3 cabins. We got people coming from South Dakota. We got people coming from Kentucky. We need these cabins. He's like, sorry. And I'm like, man, you told us, right? And I got kind of angry. He's like, dude, you made a deal, right? And then I backtrack a little bit. So the enemy would love to come into that circumstance and say, see, you're not a good pastor. Good pastors don't lose their temper. Good pastors stay cool. You get mad. See what I'm saying? It's just the littlest things in life. Like sometimes I want to hit my son, smack! And the devil comes in and says, you're not a good dad, right? He doesn't hear that, so praise the Lord. And it's when we get overwhelmed that we're easily willing to submit to the lie. It's when we're in these overwhelming circumstances that we say, you know what, you're right. I don't have it together. I thought I was further than that, right? And what happens is busyness becomes our biggest enemy. We're busy, 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 busy. Then we find ourselves in a situation where we're just overwhelmed and we react like we knew we shouldn't react, and then the enemy comes in and says, I told you. Right? That preacher might be telling you're holy, but you and me know better. Right? That preacher might be telling you're a sanctified son of God, but he doesn't know about this side of you. And sometimes we begin to believe that, begin to doubt that. Maybe begin to say to ourselves, my circumstance is happening because I acted this way. Right? God, why would God allow this to happen unless I had done something wrong? So instead of running to the God that delivers us, we run away from the God who delivers us. We have a decision to make. We can be overwhelmed, or overcome. Right? And I want to say this. I'm not one of those people that if you're in depression that says, just get over it. I went through depression in my 20s. It was severe. It was one of the worst times of my life. And I know that if you're going through severe depression, you want to just get over it. And I know that it's not that easy, because I wanted to get over it every day. But what I had to do is I couldn't stop. I had to keep pushing. I had to keep going until eventually I did get over it. I made a decision that I wasn't going to be overwhelmed, but I was going to overcome this. Right? And some people say, well, you don't understand my depression. Maybe I don't, but I understand depression. And I know that sitting down and saying I quit isn't the answer, because it's just going to lead you to a deeper, darker hole than what you're in right now. You have to push. You have to keep getting up. And you have to keep speaking truth over your life. And you have to keep believing. And even in the days that you feel the worst is the days you got to shout the loudest. Okay? It is my experience. And the reality of it is I overcome it, but it wasn't easy. This is why we have to keep our focus on Jesus continually. We can never take our eyes off Jesus. Right? The enemy, see, this is what he likes to do in our circumstance. We're focused on Jesus, and then when all hell begins to break loose, for some reason we take our focus off him and start focusing on the circumstance. And what happens when I focus on the circumstance, I begin to look inwardly to what's going on in here, instead of saying, I don't understand what's going on over here, but I trust you, Jesus. I shared with the last Wednesday we were here, we didn't have church last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, about John the Baptist, and he sent his servants, his disciples, and he sent them to Jesus, and he says, are you the one, or should we look for another? And Jesus never answered the question. Jesus got up, healed the sick, cleansed the leper, fed the poor, preached the gospel, and he said to the disciples, I want you to go back and tell John what you just seen. John's in prison. There's a reason John's feeling like, are you the one, or should we search for another? Because when you showed up on the scene, you said, I've come to set the captive free. And I've been captive for quite some while. I'm ready to be free. And I'm still locked up. Are you the one? Are you really the one that's promised? I mean, sometimes maybe some of us has even thought that. Jesus, I'm starting to doubt whether you're the one. But Jesus didn't answer. Why? Because Jesus said, he told his disciples, he basically said this. Tell John to stop looking at his circumstance and looking on what's going on in the kingdom. And if he'll take his eyes off his circumstance and trust that the work he did is bringing the kingdom into the earth right now, he won't be so affected by everything going on around him. Right? So we have to take our eyes off our circumstance, whatever it is. We have to keep them completely locked in and focused on Jesus. Because if you choose to focus on your circumstance, You will experience worry, anxiety, and depression, and what gets your attention will ultimately determine your direction. All right. If Jesus has got my attention, my direction will, even if I'm going through the valley of the shadow of death right now, if I'm going through that valley, if Jesus has my attention, I will come to a place of rest, peace, joy, and love. If I get into the valley of the shadow of death right now and I begin to look around me, what's going to come into me is fear, anxiety, and worry, right? It is not easy, because sometimes, like for me personally, I'm a problem solver. I mean, problems come up, I'm looking for solutions. Boom, 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 boom. And sometimes I have to just sit back and say, okay, what do you want to do here, Lord? And it's completely contrary to how I'm wired. I'm wired, there's a problem, we're going to fix it. There's a problem, we're going to fix it. And sometimes I fix things and then I just make them worse because I didn't look to God and say, how do we go about this? So we're going to get into the sermon now. That was my preamble. Some of you guys are like, all right, we're going to get first Elisha Day. And then I said, now we're just starting to preach. Well, if you're a person that takes notes, I want you to write 2 things down today. It's going to be 2 points of my sermon. I got a 2-point sermon. And if I get a 3rd point, it's because you've been resurrected. If you'll write down this for me. God is great. I know He's good, but God is great. And God is able. So it'll be the main 2 points of my sermon. And we're going to start in the book of Daniel. And we might be here for a few weeks. I don't know. I started reading this and I kind of like it. And I'm reading from the New International Version. So we're starting in chapter 1. I'm going to give you a little backdrop. The Israelites had actually been overtaken. I believe, I didn't write it down, but it was King Nebuchadnezzar. Does anybody know the story? Yeah, okay. And he had actually, so when a king would go in and destroy a nation, what they would do is they would kill everybody, right? They might leave some of the poor, they would kill everybody, and then they would kidnap the well-influential, smart folks, right? So all of us in here would have died. Well, not me, but all of you guys. I'm going to start in verse 3. I'm kind of laying the backdrop here a little bit, okay? That they come in, they destroyed them, they forced them into slavery. Most likely they killed Daniel's family. They had given them new names, new haircuts, new wardrobe, right? And so if you look at it, Daniel was right in the middle of an overwhelming circumstance. Okay? I read that they took him up through 2 deserts. And I think I read somewhere once that they actually made Daniel to be a eunuch. If you're not familiar with that, I'm not going into that today. You can Google it. Be careful what you open up. But if you're a dude, you don't want to be a eunuch. I'll just say that, okay? So here we go. We're going to start with verse 3. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring into the king's service of the Israelites from the royal family and nobility a young man without any physical defects, handsome, showing aptitude. Hey, James, can you put your face out here? If you want to know what handsome is, that's the picture of handsome right there. That's what I think every time I read these scriptures. James Horn. Showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that, they were to enter the king's service. Among those who were chosen were some from Judah: Daniel, Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief officials gave them new names. So what does the devil do to you? Does it give you what? A new name, right? The enemy always wants to change your name. To Daniel, he gave him Belshazzar. To Hanani, Shadrach. To Mishael, Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. It took a lot of practice to get that right, so you guys should. Why would he want to change the name? I'll just tell you, Daniel's name was God will judge our strength, right? And they want to change it to Belshazzar, which means Baal gives life or Baal saves. Verse 8. If you got your Bible out, and if you're the kind of people that underline, highlight, write in your Bible, I want you to underline this right here, verse 8. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself in this way. So I'm going to explain this to you. The reason that Daniel didn't want to eat the meat and the wine that they were serving him was because they would offer these up to the false god Baal, right? And of course Baal didn't eat them because Baal couldn't even start a fire, right? And so they would offer him to the false god Baal, and then when he didn't eat him, it was brought to the king's chamber. And if you were to partake of this is why this became an issue in the new covenant. If you were to partake of this, you are actually saying that I will be a disciple of this God. And so Daniel's saying, you can count me out on that. See, reason I told you to underline but Daniel was because they changed his name. But Daniel. They changed his identity, but he stuck with Daniel. We're not reading the book of Belshazzar or however you say it, we're reading the book of Daniel. Right? People aren't naming their kids Belshazzar, they're naming their kids Daniel. Why? Because Daniel wasn't going to compromise on his convictions. He wasn't going to take a false identity. And the reality of it is he kept his eyes upon his Savior, even though they tried to change his name, he never took on the identity of a slave. See, overcomers cannot take on the identity of what used to enslave us. This is the problem with, say, like addiction ministry. Addiction ministry will say, I know that they do awesome work, but it's not a knock, but this is just an issue I have, is I am Bill Hackworth and I am an alcoholic. That's not true. That's what used to enslave me before. And matter of fact, maybe I'm still battling with it today. But the reality of it is my spirit is holy and righteous, and my body will come to that truth if I will begin to speak truth over it. But if I continue to agree with the lie that I'm an alcoholic, I am now becoming obedient, or I'm submitting to something that used to enslave me. Right? We have to be strong on this in our lives. I don't care what it is. I am not submitting to anything. Bill Johnson says it best. He says, I cannot afford to have a mind or a thought in my mind that God doesn't have in me, about me in His mind. Right? So any thought that comes into my mind that doesn't line up with what God says, I have to cast that out. The Bible says that as He is, so are we in this world. So we have to stop identifying with our past. And here's something else. You have to stop identifying with your family. And I mean that, maybe there's some good things about your family, but I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm going to be this, or I think I heard Scott Walker said that you're going to be angry because your dad was angry, or you're going to be a drunk because you're Irish, or you're going to be this because you're Indian, or you're... Man, that's a curse. Stop speaking it, right? You're not going to be anything because what anybody was before. You're going to be who God says you are, right? Right? And if they come against you, if they start speaking a false identity, just remember, but Daniel. Right? Like Daniel was in the middle of overwhelming circumstances. They're literally taking his whole identity from him, his wardrobe from him, his haircut from him, his name from him, but he stood, he says, I will not go, you can take my name. And you're not going to make me serve a false god. Right? And so a lot of times when we are going after, when we are admitting or submitting ourselves to false ideas, we're literally submitting to a false god of the world, right? Okay. And here's the last point in my notes. Stop running from something that in Christ you have power over. Right? We got to stop running from things. I'll tell you right now, if you stop running and start running to your problem, there's a promise right on the other side of that problem. If you'll stop running from your resistance and start running to your resistance, the breakthrough's right on the other side. If Daniel or if David would have ran from Goliath, he had never had victory. And sometimes we're so afraid to face the things that used to take us down that we run and we run and we run. But there's no breakthrough in running. You're just avoiding, right? We got to stop going around mountains. We got to start speaking to mountains, right? And sometimes that means we might have to go over the mountain. But the reality of it is if we'll begin to speak into some situations, stop running from our problem and run straight to the problem, we'll watch God's promises break through. If I'm hiding like Elijah was hiding, it's tough to have breakthrough when I'm avoiding the battle. God is great, right? He is more than He's the God of the impossible. So you might say, yeah, Pastor, but you don't know my problem. My problem is impossible. But then if you say that, you don't know my God, because He says nothing is impossible with God. Right? The only thing that's impossible with God is nothing. Right? Verse 9. If you underline your Bible, I want you to underline these two. Now God. Right? Because we have a right now God. Right? Sometimes, I shared this with you for probably 1,600 times in the last few months, and I'm going to keep sharing it. Sometimes your situation, you've prayed, you've seen God, you've spoken over it, you've done everything that you know to do, and it feels like God is not moving in that situation. But I'm here to tell you that no matter what it looks like, and no matter what it seems like, and no matter what it feels like, God is moving in the situation. And it might not happen the way you think it's going to happen. It might not look like you think it's going to look, and it might not be with the people that you think it's going to be with. But God right now is moving in your situation. Amen. He has empowered you for breakthrough, and He is in the middle of whatever the dirt maybe you're going through, whatever the battle you're going through, He's in the middle of it right now. He is not a but-when God. What do you mean by that? Well, I try to invite people to church sometimes, and they say, yeah, when I get to a better place, I'm not quite ready, but when I can get my life right, then I'll go to church. When I can get my life right, God will heal me of this. When I can get my life right, God will provide for my finances. He's not a but-when God. He's a right now God. Right? He's not waiting for you to get it right, because He's not looking at your ability to get it right. He put all that on Jesus and His ability to get it right for you. And if you trust in Him, you don't have to worry about getting it right. You can just say, hey, I can't get it right, but He did. Right? I'm going to take His work over my work any day. If you can't see it, see, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Right? If you can't see it, keep faith. Keep with it. Keep believing. Keep standing. Keep speaking. Hold on. Right? I'm just going to share this with you. I came up in the Pentecostal movement, and like every Sunday the message was, is you're going to have your breakthrough. God's going to do your breakthrough. I heard this message every Sunday, and I actually was getting mad. I was like, I haven't got my breakthrough. I've been waiting, I've been believing, I've been speaking, and I haven't got my breakthrough. Right? So you preach that message to somebody else, because I haven't got it yet. But then I look back now, years later, and the things that I was mad about because I wasn't seeing my breakthrough, I look back now and I realize that I got my breakthrough. The things that I was believing for God then, that I finally, 2 years, 3 years, and I finally said, whatever. God must have forgot about me. Right? And then and sometimes it happens so subtly, like it's not like this amazing breakthrough, and I realize it. It's like this process of God taking me through things. And then now I look back, and if I look back to those times, I think, man, all the things I was believing God for then has happened, right? And like I said, it didn't happen like I thought it was going to happen. It didn't happen when I thought it was going to happen, and it didn't happen with the people I thought it was going to happen with. But it did happen. It happened exactly like it should have happened. And the people that left me, it's okay, because God brought new people in my life. Amen? All right, can we go to verse 10? But the official told Daniel, I am afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you. So it's the second that you realize that God is great and God is able, the enemy's going to come in and try to get you to compromise your convictions. But David knew that he didn't have to compromise, that God could do a lot more through his convictions than he ever could through his compromise. Can I say this real quick about compromising our convictions? It's like what's going on in the world today. Christians, they want us to shut up, okay? And they want us to keep our mouth shut because we don't want to hear the name of Jesus. It's not really about what we believe or what we preach. It's really about that name, because that name does have power in it, okay? You get around an unbeliever that doesn't believe in the name of Jesus, you say Jesus, 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 and they tense up a little bit because there's something to it. Before I was born again, I didn't even get that name out of here. We don't have to compromise on what we believe. Now, let me say this. I'm not for the dude standing out there with a sign we're going to minister of reconciliation. I'm not for that at all. Like I don't believe in that. I don't think that works. And maybe somebody got saved out of that, but I tell you what, the goodness of God leads me to repentance. I'm going to stick with that. That's my formula. That God's good, and if you really realize that God's good, you were created by Him and for Him. And if you're created by Him and for Him, you need Him. And the second that you realize that hole in your heart will be filled. Right? So I'm not for the sign holding. Like I did make some signs, but it said God's in a good mood. Right? God's not mad at you, and God likes you. And I still got bead with some. What are those beads? Steve, I know you know it, dude. The Mardi Gras beads. Yeah, they still beat me with that stuff. But I bet we had 1,000 people come up to us and ask for prayer. We had people come out on the street and said, I'm going through some hard times, will you pray with me? Right? Because the goodness of God led men to search out what we had. Right? They actually, some of them even doubted that we were Christians. They're like, are you really Christians? I'm like, yeah. You know, the homosexual's like, are you homosexual? Because you're standing out here with a sign saying that God's in a good mood. I'm like, He is in a good mood. How do you know? I checked in at headquarters this morning and I talked to him. He said he's in a good mood. Trust me. Right? But they couldn't see straight men standing out there with signs right in front of their bars saying God's in a good mood. They couldn't see that because they thought that we had to either be homosexual or we weren't really Christians. And I said, I'm not homosexual, and I really am a Christian, and God really is in a good mood. Okay? But with that being said, that doesn't mean that we have to compromise what we believe in. Amen? Verse 11. Daniel then said to the guard, whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables and to eat and water to drink. And then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see. So he agreed to this and tested him for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and the wine. Imagine if you're the other dudes. Like you're eating steak and drinking wine. This dude shows up and says, I want vegetables and water. He ends up looking better than you, and now they pull your steak and your wine away from you, right? It's like, you're not going to make it out of here. I'm going to kill you. Like, I need the wine just to survive this. Anyway. So the guard took their choice food and wine, and they were to drink again the vegetables instead. Verse 17. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge. This is why I want you to get this. Daniel didn't compromise. He stood by his convictions. And in the middle of those convictions, God gave these 4 men knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them to his service, the chief official presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and he found none equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Can I say something? We have Elohim living in us. The Bible, when it says in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And the word Elohim means the creator. Okay? The church should be putting out the best music, the best art, the best everything. Why? Because the creator lives inside of you. If you need knowledge on how to create, you have the mind of Christ. And we literally should be overtaking the world with our music and our art. Right? But because we got so religious and so legalistic, we threw that stuff out of the church. But I hope that we come to a place where we bring that back into the church. Because it'll be the music and the art that will persuade men that God is real. I lost my place. Start at verse 20. Is that close?
Yeah.
In every matter of wisdom and understanding about the king question, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom. What I love about this is most of the time we're saying, God, deliver me out of my circumstance. Get me out of my circumstance. But God didn't deliver Daniel out of his circumstance. He delivered him through his circumstance. He never pulled him out of the problem. He took the problem and he made the best out of it for Daniel. Right? Daniel didn't have a home to go back to anyway. So now he's sitting right beside the king, and the king is hearing the voice of God because Daniel's in the midst of that. And so the guy that was serving Baal now has a prophet of the real God in his chambers, and God, instead of pulling him out of that, he took everything that the enemy intended for bad and he turned it for good. Not only for the good of Daniel and those 3 young men, but the good of that king and the good of that kingdom. See, sometimes we want God to get us out of a circumstance, but maybe God's keeping us in a circumstance so we can learn some stuff about ourselves. Right? If Daniel or if David hadn't have fought the lion and the bear, if God would have saved him from that, he would never have prepared for Goliath. See, sometimes I got to fight my lion, sometimes I got to fight my bear, and I know that God's with me. Daniel didn't say I defeated these guys by myself. He said with the Spirit of God, I defeated the lion and the bear. Right? So God was with him. God helped him through that. But when Goliath raised his ugly head up, David didn't shy back one bit. Right? So if you'll stop saying, God, get me out of my circumstance, and say, God, I want you to make me victorious through this circumstance, then the next circumstance that rises up in your life, you won't run from it, but you'll run right to it. Hallelujah. Why can God deliver you through your circumstances? Because He is that great and He is that able. He is not threatened by your circumstance. He's a great walking, water walking, death defying, sea splitting God. I got Scott's notes in my... Oh. Let's finish here. I don't know if I gave you boys... it's probably too late. So I forgot to give you this scripture. John 16:33. I'll read it to you. Jesus is speaking to His disciples. He says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. The things that He told, if you want to know what these things are, where I'm going to today, but I think it maybe John 13, John 14, start reading there. And all the things that Jesus told them in those 3 or 4 chapters, He told them so that they would have peace. In this world, you will have trouble. So if anybody says, well, you're a Christian, you're not going to have trouble. Jesus said, in this world, you're going to have some trouble. So things are going to get tough. Things are going to get bad. Right? You're going to have some battles. Like He's talking to Peter and all these boys, right? When Peter gets crucified upside down, Jesus is getting ready to go to the cross. Right? Like these guys can understand trouble. And I'm not saying that that's bigger. I think sometimes we think that, yeah, their trouble is bigger than my trouble, but I just think it's different troubles, right? Like when we go to Haiti, they got some troubles over there that we don't have over here, but we have some troubles over here that they don't have over there, right? And we can't weigh out the troubles. We just got to find our way through. We're going to have problems, and the reality of it is we got to find our way through those problems, right? But then Jesus says, but take heart. I have overcome the world. See, everything you're bad on today, every circumstance that you're going through, Jesus has already overcome it. And you're not waiting for breakthrough. You're literally been broken through and you're seated at the right hand of the Father right now.
Did you say 16, 13?
No, 33.
I know what you said. Go back and
Oh, yeah, if you want to know what He's talking about, chapter 13.
Okay.
And read it all the way through. See, Jesus wasn't overwhelmed by His circumstances. He didn't run from His problem. He ran straight to His problem, and He overcame His problem. In the book of Revelations, they said that they overcome by the blood of the Lamb. Praise the Lord. They overcome by the blood of the Lamb. So we take communion every Sunday. Why? What's this represent? Blood. They overcome by this. Why? Because my blood is shed for a new covenant, right? I overcome by, when the enemy comes and starts speaking into my life, I say, no, no, no. His blood was shed. He paid the price. I am the righteousness of God right now. And the enemy says, yeah, but the righteousness of God don't act that way. And you say, my identity has nothing to do with my behavior. I am seated in Christ right now. This is my identity. He paid a high price for it. I overcome by the blood. I am healed because of the blood. I am set free because of the blood. I am not an addict because of the blood. Right? My marriage can make it because of the blood of the Lamb. My son can come home because of the blood of the Lamb. My children will not be taken by the enemy because the Lamb shed His blood. Right? My husband will not stay addicted to pornography because of the blood of the Lamb. My wife will be at home at nighttime. She will not be running around. Why? Because of the blood of the Lamb. It says they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. If you've been around me long, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, but it bears to be repeated. Our testimony is to remind us. We think of all through the Old Testament, God would say, remember what I did. Remember what I did. Remember what I did. Because when we remember what He did yesterday, it equips us for victory tomorrow. There's something about being in my battle today. There's something about Facebook memories. I'll use it. Because sometimes I go through Facebook memories and I remember where I was at 4 years ago. And then I start thinking about that time and what was going on in my life. And how maybe I was in a circumstance that I thought was impossible. And here it is 4 years later. And that thing didn't even do anything to me. Right? Like I spent more time stressing and losing sleep over something that when it was said and done, that didn't affect me at all. Right? Why? Because God moved right in that situation. He took care of it. See, so when I look at where I was at last year, I was going through something last year. Sometimes I go through something every day, to be honest with you. But when I can look at where I was at last year and I realize it didn't even make a ripple. It didn't even make a wave. And the wave that was made was my own anxiety. The wave that was made was my own fear. It didn't even do that. And so when I look at that, I say, hey, if God could take care of last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, if He was more than able to take care of that, if He was greater than that situation, He's more than able today to take care of what I'm going through today. That's how we overcome, by the blood of the Lamb and our word of our testimony. Can I get you to stand up? Can I get you to say something with me? God is greater than my circumstance. And God is able to overcome my circumstance. And He is a right now God. And if you'll look at your neighbor, we're going to do this probably every week because I love it, and say, you're doing better than you think. You're doing better than you think. All right, I'm going to pray and dismiss you. I think I've got you out fast enough to beat the other churches to the Mazio Pizza. You might be second in line, but I did my best. If you need prayer for healing or something today, I'll remain up here and minister with you. If you needed to be dismissed, you've got stuff going on, I understand that. You're welcome to dismiss yourself. Father, I thank you. I thank you for your finished work, Lord. I thank you that we face overwhelming circumstances, but in that, Lord, that you have promised that you will never leave me and you will never forsake me, that you will walk through the fire with me, that you'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I will fear no evil because you are right there with me. Father, I thank you that this church, right now, the people in this church, Lord, are blessed. They are favored. I thank you that they're part of my family, Lord. I thank you that each and every one of us, the blood of Jesus flows through our veins, and I thank you for that, Lord. Lord, as they walk out of this building, everything they lay their hands on prospers, Lord. Lord, I ask you to send angels around them, Lord, to protect them as they go out in this week. You protect them as they drive, Father. You protect them on their jobs, Lord. You protect them in their marriages. You protect their homes, and you protect their children, Father. In Jesus' name I pray.